To a Fox News alert now. You're taking a live look at Oman, where nuclear talks between the United States and Iran began overnight. But President Trump is not budging, still demanding zero nuclear capability from the Iranian regime.
Doug Lazater joins us now from Washington with the very latest. Hi, Doug.
Carly and Todd, good morning. A new round of high-stakes talks today in Oman, but there's already disagreement over the scope of these negotiations. Now, here's what Iran's foreign minister is saying in a post on X late last night. Iran enters diplomacy with open eyes and a steady memory of the past year. We engage in good faith and stand firm on our rights. Commitments need to be honored. Equal standing, mutual respect, and mutual interest are not rhetoric. They are a must and the pillars of a durable agreement. Now, Iran sees these talks as limited to the country's nuclear program that was already hit during last year's U.S. military strikes known as Midnight Hammer. The U.S., though, led by Mideast envoy Steve Witkoff, is pressing for more, going after Iran's missile program and its extensive network of proxy groups throughout the Middle East. And just yesterday, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps seized 2 oil tankers in the Persian Gulf. And while the U.S. carrier Abraham Lincoln is nearby, this comes as the U.S. military is poised for a possible attack.
Diplomacy moving forward. The president has obviously been quite clear in his demands of the Iranian regime. Zero nuclear capability is something he's been very explicit about, and he wants to see if a deal can be struck. And while these negotiations are taking place, I would remind the Iranian regime that the president has many options at his disposal, aside from diplomacy, as the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military in the history of the world.
Iran's government was already weakened, even after cracking down on the widespread protests there. And with so much U.S. firepower now amassed nearby, some see this as a unique opportunity to topple the Iranian government. The question now is whether this will be the start of real diplomatic progress or perhaps a prelude to something else. Todd and Carly.
That is the question. Doug Lazater live for us in Washington. Doug, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's bring in former President George W. Bush appointed U.S. Commission member for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad and foreign analyst Harley Lippman. Harvey, thank you so much for joining us. So to answer that question, what do you think our expectations should be during this round of talks?
I think we have to recognize that the Iranians' intent is to manipulate the United States. They'll act tough in the negotiations, but in the end, they have no intention of honoring it. They never did. This is a regime that uses negotiations simply as a tactic to delay so they could continue on their goal, which they tell us all the time is to destroy America. There's only one nation in the world that says on a daily basis for the last 40 years, destroy America. We have to pay attention to what our adversaries say, because when they say they're going to do things like that, history has shown that they often carry it out.
Yeah, well, President Trump's goal is for a denuclearized Iran. If these discussions fail, what happens next?
Well, again, let's say President Trump achieves that goal. President Trump is doing a great job in trying to strengthen America and our friends in the region and address the problems in Iran. But the problem is that even if President Trump gets an agreement, how do you enforce it? Even when you get inspections anytime, anywhere. Iran is a big country. They hid their nuclear development program during the Obama administration when they came up with a failed nuclear deal. And I worry that the same thing will happen again. They don't view negotiations the way we view in the West. When we have a negotiation, we believe when we sign an agreement, we honor our side and you honor your side. Yeah. They don't think of it that way at all. So we have to be mindful of how things operate in that part of the world.
Harley, the Wall Street Journal is reporting a second wave of popular anger is building in Iran. They go on to say mourning families are shouting anti-regime slogans at funerals and memorials. Students are refusing to sing patriotic songs at school. Medical workers are publicly condemning the arrest of colleagues who treated people injured in the protests, and groups of local activists are openly calling for the fall of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. I guess one of the military goals could be for the United States to give enough military effort to this to activate these protests even more so they could finish the job themselves. How do we go about doing that?
Well, that would be a great outcome because 90% of the Iranian people hate this regime. They live in poverty. They go home at night. They turn on the faucet. There's no water. There's no electricity. The people are in miserable circumstances while the regime lives as billionaires and uses money in a way that's corrupt and doesn't serve the people. So the people want a different government. The only way that could happen is from the United States. And I think this speaks to the best of America. We are there to liberate. That's what we did in World War II. And that's what we should do here. They're counting on the American people. They're counting on President Trump. It would be tragic if President Trump didn't do this because there's a risk he could go down in history as someone who betrayed the Iranian people from their perspective, because President Trump did say help is on the way. But I think the president knows different things that he could do. One of them is attack the IRG command and control centers. I'm sure we have lists and they know how to do that. Perhaps they could take them off the banking system, take them off SWIFT, let the economy collapse. If the security forces can't get paid because there's no money, they're not going to go out in the streets and shoot these demonstrators. Yeah. And let's keep in mind, this is one of the biggest massacres in the Arab world in recent history. These people slaughtered, the Iranian government slaughtered their own people, over 30,000 people. Yeah. Even when they were in the hospital recovering from gunshot wounds, Iranian security forces entered the hospital and killed all the protesters who they shot and wounded there.
Yeah.
So this is a demonic regime.
Right, and it looks like those actions could be leading to potential second wave of protests. So the U.S. is in negotiations right now, and we have a huge military presence nearby, the definition of the carrot and the stick approach. Former U.S. Commission member Harley Lippman, we thank you for joining us.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.